straight out, like, do you think Henry Shefflin will be in charge of Galway next year? I think he
Yeah, I
could.
do.
Do you? I think he cut quite a frustrated figure on the line. I think he cut quite a frustrated figure after. Just reading between the lines, just my own kind of thoughts on it. I thought he was big in Limerick up after. More than an opposition manager normally would, and talking about how good Gillan was and how good Seamus Flanagan was and how good Darragh Donovan was and this type of thing. And I thought that was peculiar from, an opposition manager who'd just been beaten in a game. And I know Limerick are the standard bearers and they're a great team and all that. But yeah, I would have been disappointed with really disappointed with that second half. And as I said, time is of essence for this Galway team, and they didn't seize the day when they created a fair opportunity for themselves.
And let's say he did leave the post, whether he was asked or whether he decided to himself, who necessarily would Galway go for next year? Because Micheál Donoghue has just completed 1 year with Dublin, so I can't imagine he'd go back. Obviously, what comes to mind for me is Matty Kenny, because of course he's a Galway man and he'd always be fresh in the mind because he was my manager. But I don't know, would there be a load of options?
No, there's not a hell of a lot of options, and I think that comes into the equation as well when you're thinking of managers. Like, it's one thing saying we need change. If the change is not better than what's there, then I don't think you change. So it'll be interesting, but it's going to be fascinating to see what happens over the coming months. There's obviously big travel involved in it as well. And
yeah,
maybe he'll feel like that he's not got the bounce out of them that he hoped he would. I think they only won a Walsh Cup in the 2 years that he was there. They were really disappointing Leinster final performance last year. They had the Leinster final in their grasp this year. If they had a title under the belt, maybe it would be different. But we'll be following that one fairly closely over the coming weeks and months.
Where do Galway train? Is it Athenry or is it somewhere else?
I think the footballers train somewhere. They train in different places, but I think it would be mostly Athenry, but I could stand corrected on that.
Ballyhale is 2.5 hours from Athenry.
It's colossal. It's a colossal spin. It's a colossal spin that has massive ramifications on other parts of your life as well, and your work obviously too.
Yeah, like Henry Shefflin did brilliantly with that Ballyhale Shamrocks team, and they won a couple of All-Irelands. Really, really impressive. But since then, and that was a team that has obviously unbelievable generational players. Since then, he's had a couple of seasons with Thomastown, and they probably would have been expecting to get promoted, but they couldn't get their semi-final and a final loss. And now a couple of seasons with Galway, where if you were to look at the positives of it, they beat Cork with an unimpressive performance last year to win a quarter-final. This year, beat Tipperary, won by, performed better, probably should have won by 10, ended up winning by 2. And no show for 45 minutes of this semi-final. Last year's semi-final, really good performance against Galway, and you can't blame him for, just at the end, they probably didn't have the composure to get over the line, or maybe just Limerick are too good. So, I don't know, there's probably some question marks there as well.
There is. No, I think there is, and it's as Jim Gavin had said, there's going to be some honest and frank discussions in the off season. I'm sure. Just a word, because I haven't really mentioned him. I just thought Dan Morrissey was brilliant the other night. When there was 50-50 duels or even 40-60 duels to be won with Conor Whelan at different stages, I just think he's not the flashiest player in the world, but he generally just always delivers a 7.5, 8 out of 10. He's just so consistent. And his battle, potentially might pick up Owen Cody in the final. Maybe it'd be interesting. He could pick up TJ. Those battles, we'll get into them in a couple of weeks. But I just thought he was outstanding the other night.
Yeah, Crackety Ash says Tip would sell their own grannies for a player like David Reedy. He's been proper good since getting more game time. Would have a bag of All-Stars if he had more time up to now. Isn't it mad to think that he was playing for Kildare a few years ago?
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, that's absolutely mad. It's funny you mentioned the All-Stars there. I think Conor Whelan is Galway's only All-Star after the other night, and people would say, that he was quiet in the second half. He was, but I think he has enough kind of credit in the bank up until that point. I don't think Clare are going to win too many All-Stars either, and I personally, I don't think Tony Kelly is going to win an All-Star this year, despite the 3-4 against Dublin in the quarter-final. But that's probably a debate for another day.
Yeah, do you know, actually, during the second half, I was looking at the way Galway were up front, and the problem was they weren't getting the ball in the way they had in the first half, and a lot of the talk was how I suppose Limerick sat back or whatever. But to my money, they tried to do that throughout the game anyway. And I just bring this up on screen. I hope it's displayed properly here. But this was in the second half. And you can see here, there's a couple of Galway lads here that are on the 6-yard line and the end line. I'm not entirely sure who the two players are. But look at that space. They're the only two players inside the 45. And like you can see, Limerick's half back line is trying to hold there about 55 yards out. This was the case several times in the second half, but they just could not or did not get the ball in. And a few times players, and I don't want to be too critical, but Tom Monaghan, when he gets the ball, he's looking to see, can I get my shot off even in traffic, rather than looking to see, can I pop it in? And that was something that Galway did brilliantly in the first half. When a player got in midfield, at times they'd turn and strike it in without even looking.
Yeah.
And that did not happen in the second half. And the picture that I just showed, I'll bring it up just one more time. This picture was there several times and the ball was not delivered. Maybe players were tired, maybe whatever excuse you like to throw in there.
More pressure on the man in possession, less time to deliver. Like they definitely had more time in the first half.
But at times they didn't even take time. As soon as they got the ball, they struck blindly, and it worked. And that was obviously the plan. But in the second half, they weren't delivering it the several times that there was a 1-on-1 or a 2v2 inside the 45.
Yeah, that's a killer, particularly if you're standing inside. You just, like, Conor Whelan is in the type of form this year, and even at times the other day, that just get the ball in. It doesn't matter. As Joe Bergen used to say with Offaly, just leave it in good and ignorant. Just get it in. Get it in. And if it's in here, we have a chance of winning. If it's in here, we have a chance of scoring. If it's not in here, we've no chance. And sometimes, yeah, they were probably dilly-dallying out the field, and a lot of the time they were swallowed up then as well.